All right, guys, thanks for being here. I see a lot of you guys are in here already. That's amazing. Waiting on me, and I appreciate that very much. I try to be as punctual as I can so I don't dilly-dally. I watch some people's lives, and for the first, few minutes, they're waiting on people and not talking about anything interesting, and that I find a little disrespectful to the viewer, and I don't want to do that. I have something I want to talk about before I get started with questions. Remember, all your questions, if you put a question mark in front of them, I'll be sure to get to them. I can't promise that if you don't do that, that I will get to them, because it's a little bit, it's harder on me to know what a question is when I just look at hundreds of messages going by there. Before I get to that, I want to talk about something that's really important. Yesterday, I made a post about the Greyhound tracks shutting down, and I forget where it was. Maybe it was Florida or somewhere. And I said, good, right? I'm happy about it. Personally, I'm against horse racing because of the things I've seen or heard, I should say, about the abuse that goes on there. I am against dog racing. I'm against abuse of animals, basically. So there's a lot of comments that said, they were defending it. Most of the comments were from you guys who were in support of what I believe, because I mean, obviously, most people who follow somebody are going to agree with most of their viewpoints. That's fine. For the people who disagree, you have a valid right to your opinion as well. On my page, you have a very valid right to disagree with me. But I want to explain to you my position. I want you guys all to know my position, because it's important to understand why I believe a certain way. If you're going to follow me, I want you to understand the beliefs behind what I say. It's not just something I dreamed up. So people say, well, then, why are you for other dog sports? Or other dog sports might be affected if they shut down greyhound racing or dog racing in general. Then they'll eventually shut down dog sports. Well, one, I'm not saying to shut down greyhound racing, horse racing, or anything. I think, with the exception of something that's completely abusive, like dog fighting, obviously, let it be. Let it be. And people should make their decisions not to support it, which is the same thing I say when people want to ban dog training tools like collars, e-collars, prong collars, or whatever. Don't illegalize them. Just if you choose not to use them, don't use them. Now, here's where I see the difference. I kind of wrote this down so I could remember it. And I said, I'm against using animals as entertainment. Like, for example, I hate the zoo. I hate circuses. I've been to Africa on a couple of occasions, and if you've ever seen these animals in their natural element, if you've seen an elephant and the incredible migrations they do and the incredible journeys they take every single day, you would agree with me that putting an elephant in a zoo or a circus is the cruelest possible thing you could do. Just like SeaWorld, right? I hate any of these marine parks. I hate it. I don't have an aquarium. I don't like aquariums. I'm not into that. I had a bird. It was the worst thing ever. I gave it to my mom. The bird died. I think it's the freest the bird has been. But when you have animals in this realm of entertainment to entertain us, I think it's cruel. Zoos, circuses, racing, fighting, I find it abusive. Okay, that's my opinion. And I don't support it. I don't go to the zoo. I don't go to the circus. I don't go to anything like races or anything like that. Now, dog sports, right? Here's where we come into something different. People say, well, then you're using dogs for entertainment in dog sports. No, you're not, right? In dog sports, such as agility, IPO, obedience, any of these things, tracking, you're using the dog in a capacity of a relationship with a person. You're actually truly showing the bond between the two. You're not showing some stupid trick like a tiger jumping through a fiery ring. And the big difference here is, by the way, dogs have been domesticated for thousands of years. Thousands of years we've had dogs as pets. And for thousands of years, lions and tigers were wild. So when you're using an animal to show the bond between two people, and an animal that's obviously been domesticated, and you're showing it in this domesticated way, then, hunting, for example. You're showing the dog's ability to do that. Now, I take issue with boar hunting. I don't like it. Right? I'm not a big fan of it. If somebody goes out and wants to hunt a boar and kill it and eat it, I got no problem with it. I've got no problem with hunters of any kind. I don't care what you hunt. I do have a problem with trophy hunting. Right? So those are just my little 2 cents, and I don't want to get into big things here, but I want to get to your questions because that's why I'm here. I want to make sure that those are addressed. And again, I always say my channel, my pages are never political, right? I did that early on, but it doesn't matter. My political opinion doesn't matter, just like I don't care about your political opinion. When you come to my page, you're here to get away from politics. You're here to talk about dogs. You're here to get educated. I don't care what side of the political spectrum you're on, whether you agree with me, strongly disagree with me, to either side. I'm still here to help you with your dogs. That's it. And you're welcome to your opinion. And even people who come in and give thumbs down, I find it very weird, personally. I don't really go to people's pages and disagree with them. I think it's kind of, you just have way too much time on your hands. You're very idle, lacking friends, lacking social things to do. So you come in, you give thumbs down to people who are giving their opinions or countering their opinions, telling people their opinions are wrong. I think it's weird, right? But again, what do I care? Anyway, so let me go here. I'm going to scroll to the top, and I'm going to get to your question. Jared, you had the very, very first question, so I will address your question very, very first. And that question is, I've heard neutering a male can lead to potential issues like cancer or other health side effects. Do you think there are any similar issues to spaying a female, or just a myth? Well, it's not. Yes, I do think there is. I don't think neutering, or neutering is the general term for desexing an animal, is the right thing to do per se. Now, females, you run a big risk of pyometra, and if you have a female that's intact and you don't keep an eye on the dog, and I'm telling you something, even a very skilled dog owner that I knew had a female, got pyometra and died. It's a devastating illness for the female. But if you have a female, I do think if you are going to neuter that dog or spay that dog, it's imperative that you wait that the dog is at least fully developed. You should not take a young puppy and neuter them. That being said, there's an incredible responsibility with having an intact dog, because dogs will do what dogs do. And if you don't keep an eye on them, you're responsible for any dog that dog brings into the world. So that's my 2 cents on it. Let's see. I'm only going to take questions. I'm only going to scroll through and look at comments that have a question mark in front of them. I'm sorry, because here's one. Try to put a couple question marks so I see it. That's only one, but it's fine. I saw it because I don't want to be scrolling real carefully. I want to look at the camera and address you guys personally. BD, you say, my rescue Mel went from nervy to confident. She is now doing protection work and thriving. I'm amazed by how resilient these dogs can be. Your content has helped a lot. Keep at it, Robert. Thank you. Well, thank you. And yes, Mal's, I mean, all dogs are pretty resilient. Malinois in particular. But when you teach dogs skills, then you end up with a really nice dog. And so congratulations to you, BD. I'm very proud that you did that. And I'm very honored that you give me some credit for it. But remember, I'm just putting the tools in the toolbox. You guys are taking them out and making something wonderful with it. So cool. Martin says, my dog is in between prong sizes. Would a little too loose or too snug be better of the two? It's rare that a dog is really between sizes. It's usually you don't want to make it snug, but you should be using, and especially if there's in this in-between stage, Martin, you should use a 2.25 millimeter, 2.25 millimeter prong, which will give you the ability to really adjust it and really dial it in. Always use a backup on the prong collar. And I don't think it's between, but really loose is not good, and really tight is not good. But the difference between snug and loose, you should go for snug. That would be my input there. Mason, I am picking up a German Shepherd soon. Just wondering if you have any tips for teaching a puppy to not bark at things outside the house or noises during the night, right from the start. What I would suggest you do is put the dog in a crate in a room that's not facing directly outside, but dogs are gonna bark. Dogs bark because they're either afraid or they're alerting. And that's just an instinct of the dog, like babies cry when they're hungry. So it's a really tough one to undo, but letting the dog get really wound up is where you're gonna make your problem. So keep the dog in somewhat of a quiet room when they're sleeping. Use a cactus says the way you guys use a question mark is wrong. It's not wrong. I'm just asking for question marks over here. Where am I? Here, right here. See the question mark? That shows me that you have a question because I don't know if you have a question. Otherwise, a lot of you guys come in and make comments to each other and all that, and that's fine. You're welcome to do that. But if you have a question, you want to address something with me, please do a question mark. It makes it a lot easier for me. How do you stop a 7.5-month-old puppy from peeing in the house? She was doing great, and then all of a sudden reverted back to doing this all, or is this a weak bladder problem? How to fix? Well, I don't know if she has a weak bladder. I highly doubt it. You could take the dog to the vet and have it checked out for UTI if that's the case. I take my dogs regularly to the vet. If I have any questions, I'm at the vet. And I don't like giving veterinary advice, but my opinion here, Norman, would be that your dog is more than likely marking in the house, and you're probably not keeping an eye on the dog. And you need to get those odors out really, really strongly with an enzymatic cleaner, something like Nature's Miracle or an OxyCleaner or something like that. And you need to, really importantly, crate the dog, get the dog back into the structure of going in and out, going in and out. People make the mistake really commonly that they think the dog is crate trained and it's not, and then it reverts back. But you got to get on it hardcore, because if you don't, you're going to have a problem. I'm Elena Lynette. Aloha, I have a playful 20-month-old Ridgeback Pit Lab male who is almost 90 pounds. What steps should I take to get him to not jump on my in-laws or others? He knows not to jump on my husband and I. You need to watch the video that I did recently in my members section. Actually, there's a free version of it here on YouTube. And that video shows you how to have the dog on a drag line. And when they come up to people, that people step on that drag line. I put a couple knots in it, and I step on it immediately. So as soon as the dog goes to jump up, I'm stepping on that, and it self-corrects the dog. And I think that's the easiest way to do that. Bonez. I hope that's right. Bonez, something like that. Good to see you. My 9-month-old German Shepherd usually eats 2.5 cups 3 times a day, but for the last couple of, I left off after that. Let's see if I have a good memory, I'll remember that first part of the question when I get to the next one. Tamaz says 8-month-old Mally, female, teaching hold. She always tries to chew or play with the object instead of just holding it. How to move forward with it to be able to just hold in a sit position. Well, I wouldn't worry about the sit position or the stand position or anything, but I would put it in, I put it in the dog's mouth, right? And then I cup the dog's mouth. I'll hold it closed, and I'll stroke the top of the dog's nose, or the head here, the nose or the top of the head, and I'll say, good. And when the dog it starts chewing, I'll give him a little bump under here. Hey, just a slight bump, and hold. And then I take it out. I'll release the hold on the mouth, and then I'll take the dumbbell or the dowel out. I like using a dowel personally, but make sure you hold the dog's mouth shut and use a real calm, assuring voice. If they drop it, they get corrected, right? But I try not to put corrections on a dog when they're holding the object. I think that usually will be negative to the dog. Okay, now Norman. No, that's another one. Get a little confused here, guys. Sorry. Cactus Carlos. What's your name? This is how you use the question mark in America. Okay, well, here's the thing, Cactus Carlos. I'm in America, right? I'm in the United States, not America. I'm in North and South America. There's a lot of different cultures. As long as you put a question mark before the thing, I don't care. It's not that precise. I mean, I just looked and noticed that I saw your question, even though it's different from mine. Anyway. Thanks, Kusama from Tunisia. Very nice to see you there. Okay, Beck. By the way, one of you guys who had a question about the feeding where it got cut off, just write your question again and I'll get to it. Beck, my 9-month-old Shepherd Husky had a mentally traumatic event with 4 8-month-old golden doodles a couple of months ago. He, since that event, whines and mostly cowers. Well, you're going to need to build the dog's confidence again, right? I don't know what happened. I mean, you're telling me a traumatic event. I don't know how traumatic it was. I mean, and neither do you. You know, I mean, I think your dog only knows. But being stuck in that moment, which a lot of people do when their dogs have some kind of an issues, makes it worse for the dog. You need to get the dog out, socialize the dog, move the dog past things. I mean, Dwayne, when he was young, got tackled by an Akita that Jana jumped on top of and took down, and he has no issues with it. I mean, he sees my friend Joey's, Max the Akita you see on a channel all the time, no problems at all. Okay, this is Klima. My 17-month-old German Shepherd is fearful of dogs. During her stay at the dog hotel, our trainer who runs it put her with other dog, and my dog peed herself out of fear. Is the hotel a good idea for such a dog? I mean, she shouldn't be peeing herself, right? Out of fear for another dog. That's not a good social behavior. You know, dogs should be social. So I think you need to look at her socialization more importantly than anything, because if a dog is that nervous, there's a problem, and I would really try to get her socialized. But you know, I mean, I don't know, boarding dogs. You know, if you find a good place, it's fine. I don't really want to give an opinion one way or the other on that. Aaron says, working with a client with a fearful, aggressive Chihuahua who bites when petted or handled, extreme fear aggression, cannot be reliably pet and can't be lifted or bathed. Advice on desensitization. I've done this many, many times with these little dogs. You want to get yourself a pair of bite gloves. And there's a Hex Armor. I can't believe I just came up with that. I remembered it. Makes a really good pair of gloves that they can't bite through. You can alternatively get yourself what are called bite mitts, and they make them. They probably have them at Ray Allen. And what I do is I just sit and I let the dog bite it, and when they stop biting, then I stay there to, you know, after the dog is done biting, and show them there's nothing to be afraid of, and then I slowly start to move. So once the dog starts to see that the object they're afraid of is not going to hurt them, in other words, what they're afraid of, they're going to bite it, or it's going to hit them, or it's going to grab them, it's going to do whatever. You have to desensitize the dog first to the presence of something strange. Now, you can't use your hand because you're going to get nailed and bit. Some people use, with smaller dogs, you can use like oven mitts, you know, those the mitts you pick up like a hot pot with or something like that. And they usually can't bite through that either. But you need to get the dog used to that. I've got some videos. I would probably check my Bound Angels YouTube channel, and you'll see that there's some stuff on there. But yeah, patience, and let the dog see this over and over and over again. And I've not had one dog I couldn't get past it, especially little ones like that. Odin says, my 5-month-old Malinois really enjoys human contact. He is great with everyone, kids and adults. Would that change if I would introduce protection work? Absolutely not. No. Good protection work, the dog must be social. No issues at all, especially if he's already social going into the protection game. Reina Sato says, my 2-year-old German Shepherd barks, warned when off-leash dogs run toward us. I keep trying to have her behind me, but that is too hard to control. Any advice I can stop warning? It started after I got bitten by a dog. Well, so your dog is obviously seeing something that you're not seeing, so it's trying to protect you from that dog. What I would teach the dog is a good solid sit or down. That's what you want. You never want to put yourself between your dog and another dog. People do that all the time, and it's a mistake that's very common in the pet dog training world. They'll put the dog behind them, and they'll get in front of them, and they'll point at them, hey, sit, stay, or whatever. And it's usually a big mistake. I find it a huge mistake. So what my suggestion would be is to get the dog to understand basic obedience, sit down, and then introduce distractions. Don't introduce the dog running towards you right away. That's the highest level. You know, have the dog sit, throw a ball, have the dog sit, throw some treats, have the dog sit, have somebody walk a dog by, and then have somebody sit, have the dog sit, and then take it to the next level. You got to kind of take it up, you know, certain levels at a time. Okay, so am I against lure coursing, Carly? You know, I don't like it, right? I mean, the problem with it is it's a senseless activity. And I find it, you know, and again, you're asking my opinion. I'm not a lawmaker. I wouldn't make a law to outlaw lure coursing, even if I had a dog that got hurt in it. It would just be, I made a bad decision. The issue I have with lure coursing is it's a senseless activity, right? The dog is just chasing something around, chasing. It increases prey drive incredibly. So if you have a dog with a high degree of prey drive and you put them in lure coursing, which they say to do, to give them to satiate the prey drive, you're just making it worse. You're just showing the dog that running is a positive behavior. So I don't like it personally. I don't find it productive. I like things that are productive, that show the relationship of the dog. Okay, Beck. Okay, that was part of another question, I guess. What's the best way to deal with a dog with little dog syndrome? My chi is very dominant. I'm afraid my Malinois is going to suffer eventually. Well, you need to correct your little dog. You need to correct the dog. When your dog does that, hey, knock it off. Grab her, put her in a crate. You're not allowed to do that. Right? And it's not that the Mal's going to suffer. You should worry that, one, you're going to mess up the Mal, in the head if it's a puppy that's getting bullied around. And the second thing is that if the Mal finally figures out that he's bigger, it's going to be a whole different problem. Okay. Okay, what's my take on the Eastern European Shepherd? I like them. I like them a lot. I think they're very well bred. I think they're nice dogs. Eastern European, the Czech Shepherds are great dogs. But I want you to remember something. When you go to Germany to buy a dog, and people can hate me for this, but the Germans are not going to sell you their best dog. They're just not going to do it. They're going to keep the best dog for themselves, just like any breeder is going to do. So people always go, oh, I'm going to Europe to get my Malinois. I'm going to Europe to get my Shepherd. And you think it's a better dog. Well, you're not getting the best dog out of the litter. I guarantee you. Unless you have a really good contact there, chances are you don't, you're not going to get the best dog. That's just the way it is. Martin. Okay, I already answered that question, Martin. Lois? Yeah, well, good. You're on the same page as me. I appreciate people who are on the same page as me, as well as people who differ. You can differ in opinion. I've got lots of friends who differ from me in tons of things. Everything from music to food to religion to politics and everything. But, people I like them. And if you differ from me, then, I would respectfully state my case, but you're totally entitled to have your opinion. It's this segment of humanity, of society, that doesn't allow you to have a different opinion. That's what I have a problem with. You're totally entitled to have a different opinion, but don't make it a law that I have to follow your opinion, just like I'm not going to make it a law to follow mine. So, okay, Paula says, you need a question mark before this, but Paula, I just clicked on accident because of Lois's comment before. How can I teach my 2 one-year-old German Shepherds to differentiate between chewing their bones or okay items from chewing cords, headphones, remote controls, etc.? Simple, by correcting them when they're chewing the wrong thing and by encouraging them when they're chewing the right thing. When they have a bone, it's a good thing. It's a positive thing. When they have a cord, you correct them. Hey, don't you do that. And give them something that they should chew on. And also monitor them. Don't just let them free in the house to ponder whatever they want to chew. Alice, how to stop 12-week-old Frenchie Boston from jumping on furniture despite positive reinforcement, 4 good behavior, 4 paws on the ground, and quiet time and crate when distractions don't work. Well, you correct the dog. That's it, right? Positive only training. And again, I've got no problem with positive training, positive reinforcement training. It's what I do. We've reinforced the positive, and then we also have to correct the negative. If we reinforce positive, we correct the negative. So I would keep a little line on the dog, a little tab, and when he jumps on the furniture, I go, hey, pop, 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 and get him off the furniture. When he's down on the ground, good boy, and make sure that you don't start teaching the dog to jump up on furniture and then jump down and get rewarded, because that's what will happen a lot of times, right? A lot of times the dog will end up jumping up on furniture, and then you say, hey, jump down, and when they jump down, you give them a treat. So they go, well, if I jump up on the furniture and then jump down, I get a treat. So make that clear. Separate those pieces out. Really important. Okay. Purse polis. I can't read. Sometimes when they're really long words, I can't read them. But you know who you are because your comment is on the screen. Just 6-month-old German Shepherd who growls and gets very aggressive when being held. She even snaps and bites me proactively when in play mode. It appears to be playful behavior, but it gets crazy. It gets scary. So you need to keep this dog calm. So, don't right away expect the dog to be okay with you grabbing and holding her. Maybe in the beginning, have some treats, put your arm around her, pet her. And when the dog gets crazy, don't start yelling at the dog and start forcing the dog to do something they don't want to do. What we want to do when a dog gets into an excited state, we want to freeze. In other words, we don't want to push the issue more and we don't want to release from the issue. By doing either one of those, it shows the dog that we're giving into their behavior. So let's say, for example, I'm holding a dog's foot. I'm going to trim his toenails. That's something I deal with some of my dogs. So if they start getting agitated by that, I'm not going to let go of their foot and I'm not going to yell at them for doing it. I'm just going to hold it. I'm going to say, hey, easy. And then I'm going to hold the foot and I'm going to start dremeling. And when they start giving me guff, I'm going to stand still. And then until they learn to calm down. So calming your behaviors is the easiest way. Okay, here's Bones. Here's your comment. I remember you. 2 to 3 times, 3 times a day, 2.5 cups. But for the last couple of days, he stopped being interested in his breakfast. So I tried to skip. And I don't know why your comments don't do that. But here, let me tell you something on food. Okay, because I think that I see where you're going with this. And I'm sorry you're having a hard time posting an entire comment. Obviously, something on YouTube. Dogs in the presence of food never starve as long as they're not sick. So if you don't see the dog lethargic, if the dog is moving their bowels, is pooping and peeing, is acting relatively normal, more than likely the dog is just not hungry. That's a key to think about. But you want to really look at Janet. Janet's here super chatting me. All goes in the same kitty. All goes in the same kitty. Don't force a dog to eat. If a dog, a lot of people are very big advocates of fasting their dog. So they'll take 1 day a week and they just fast the dog for the whole week. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. So don't overthink feeding the dog. As long as the dog is active, is not throwing up, is having, is pooping, is having normal bowel movements. I don't worry about it. If the dog skips a meal, good. No big deal. Don't worry about it. Luke, I have a 14-week-old male working line German Shepherd, and he doesn't seem that interested in our Flirt pole. Well, I don't use Flirt poles on Shepherds because most of the time they have a good prey drive. I would do rag work. The breeder says it will come in as he gets old, and it could. Yeah, I mean, don't force the dog, to do anything, because a lot of times when you do that, you start to make the object suspicious. Now if the dog comes from a working line background, it's a German Shepherd, and the breeder will tell you that. Obviously, you should have seen the parents and seen other litters. Then I wouldn't really worry all that much about it. Let the puppy be a puppy. Start doing some luring with the dog, but putting prey drive into the dog when the dog's not really that ready for it, you might be doing the dog a disservice. I would follow the breeder's advice on this and see, because they'll know better. Maybe some of their dogs, have more prey drive as they get older and older. Also, ask your breeder about rag work. If they do rag work with their dogs, it's usually a better way to do it. Jason. And by the way, Bonez, I saw your comment. I'm assuming I explained to you about the food. Okay, my 2-year-old lab mix is 85 pounds. It's a big dog. She goes on walks. She goes on a mile bike ride 3 to 4 times weekly. Swims in the pool. Now she's down to 3 cups of kibble per day. She's starving. What do I do? Well, every lab is always starving. Labradors, no matter how much you feed them, they're starving. That's what they do. They love to eat. Jimmy loves to eat. Dwayne would eat a bag of food if I put it in front of him. So don't overfeed your dog. Do not overfeed your dogs. Just let the dogs understand that they're going to get fed. There's Maya. And you're going to make sure they don't have calories. Watch your dog's weight more than you watch how much they eat. Like Jimmy gets a very small amount of food, and he's perfect. He's in perfect shape. He looks perfect and beautiful. Goofy eats a lot. Dwayne eats probably 3 times what Jimmy eats, and Dwayne is lean and ripped. So It really depends. I wouldn't worry about the amount of food. It's how the dog metabolizes it that you really, really want to worry about. And so your dog's doing a lot of exercise, so your dog's obviously metabolizing it very, very well. Um, Techno, that's a very cool name. Is there different temperaments for Malinois? I get it. They will always have more drive than a typical dog in general, I'm asking. I don't know what you mean by that. Is there different temperaments for Malinois? Well, the Malinois as a general breed is a different temperament from, say, a German Shepherd or a Lab, obviously. But there's also different temperaments within the Malinois. Like if you get a working line Malinois or you get a show line Malinois, you get a Malinois from a certain breeding, it's going to have a different temperament than from another breeding. Dogs are just like, they're individuals. Like maybe Northern Europeans have certain temperaments and certain styles and certain cultures, and people from South America have different styles, temperaments, and cultures. It's completely different. But within the culture, individual people will be different. You might find somebody from South America who has cultures that are similar to a Northern European, and Northern European has cultures similar to a Southern American. But and it's the same for dogs. Don't judge a dog just by the breed. Judge a dog by that individual dog. That's why I say, you don't know what you're going to get. You can breed two really great dogs together and expect a really great litter and not end up with a really great litter. You can end up with something that you weren't expecting because the overall temperament, it still will win out. Let's see. Jonas, great temperament, 2-year-old Cane Corso, great routines, boundaries, training, and structure, loves people and other dogs, walks 3 to 5 miles a day, and randomly reactive to other dogs 20% of the time. I don't think that's something I would worry about. You will need to teach the dog structure because in general, the dog will have some suspicions or some aspersions of certain dogs, whether it's a certain breed, a certain color of dog, a certain behavior, a certain drive, and they will then show that. But that's normal. I mean, there's more than 20% of the population that I don't like, or maybe you don't like. So I wouldn't worry about that. I would more concern myself with how you handle that and how you work through it. Because at 2 years old, this is that phase from 18 months to 3 years where you're really going to do the work of conditioning the dog somewhat against instinct, right? You're really going to get this dog to do what you want them to do, not what they do. And here's where you're going to have to kind of go against their instinct and put structure over the top of that even if he feels he should react negatively to that dog because he's got some kind of an aspersion or a negative thought about that dog, he must listen to you, and he must not do negative things like that. Vanessa, can't even say her last name. My Pomeranian 10-month-old was potty trained, almost no accidents, but after moving apartments, she started peeing all over the place. It really seems like this is for attention. How to correct this? Well, I don't know if it's for attention or she doesn't know the way to the door or whatever. I don't know what you're doing with the dog. But when you move, you need to redo. Like when I moved in with Janet, I redid my training with my dog. So Maya was crated. We went out, in, out, in, out. She understood it. Goofy, I showed it to him a couple times and he got it. But you must show, 10-month-old Pomeranian, you're not going to just let them freely go in the backyard, I'm assuming. And because of that, then, you need to really restructure them. Just giving them free rein in the house is a huge mistake. Okay, Michelle, boarding 7-month-old Dalmatian or bring on vacation? Going on a week vacation to travel, only had her for 3 months. I mean, don't ruin your life for your dog. If you know somebody who can watch this dog or there's a really good boarding facility for a week, I would do it. What I would really consider doing is probably taking her there for a few hours the first time, then drop her there for one overnight, and then do the week. That's going to be a thing. Make your dogs fit into your lifestyle. Because if not, you're going to end up in 10 years with this dog, and you're not going to be able to go anywhere. So I think that since the dog is that young, I think this would be a really good exercise and a really good thing to teach. Do your research. Find a really good boarding facility. Next step for 9-week-old after beginning luring. You're going to be luring for a long time. You're teaching the dog heeling, sitting, down, staying, coming, retrieving, everything. You need to see what you want to do next. But once you're luring, then you start to, fade the lure and see if the dog will do it. But for 9 weeks, you should be luring this dog for a long time till it's perfect. Don't get off the lure too soon. Jonah, I'm sorry. It has never attacked another dog. Any idea? Unable to determine the cause. I just need the whole question. I'm just really bad at remembering the question if it comes in pieces. It's a fault of mine. Totally. I don't know why, but it is. Dave says, "What's your opinion on rattlesnake avoidance training using an e-collar?" I am 100%, and if I could go over 100%, I'm 1,000% for it. I think it's a really good thing. I did it with my dogs. I highly, highly advocate it. Shiba Inu heals but does not focus on me. She looks at the stray cat or the dog while walking next to me. No problem. Once the distraction's far away, she looks at me. That's where we delve into the realm of corrections. Right? First of all, before you correct, you need to be very interesting. So if the dog is looking away, you should be like, hey. Keep the dog engaged, right? But to be engaged to you, you need to be engaging. You need to be interesting. You need to be inspiring to look at. If you're not inspiring to look at, then your dog's just not going to want to look at you. Your dog is just going to, fade off to whatever. And a cat is obviously much more interesting than you. If you're telling the dog, hey, you need to hold your head up, you need to look at me, you need to not look away, you need to do this, you do that, and hey, you must do it and ignore all these fun things around, or I'm going to beat you up. So, well, of course, it's a lot more fun to look at the other dog, cat, bird, whatever. So if you can get the dog to really be inspired to look at you, then you can work past that. And then you can put corrections. But first you need to inspire the dog to look at you. Vet said she's getting fat too. I think you were talking about the lab, right? So I would look for a really good quality food. I think, a lot of this issue can be solved with a good quality food. If you go to my site, go to my store, you'll see that I recommend Visionary Keto Food for Dogs. It's food I feed. My dogs have all done well on it. I have fed other foods, and I've advocated for them. I will always tell you what I'm currently doing, and usually what I'm currently doing is better than what I used to do. Right? I think as a trainer, as an advocate for dogs, I've evolved over the years. My training has gotten much better now than it was 12 years ago. Plus, my knowledge on food, health, nutrition, exercise has gotten much better than it was. So if I'm currently feeding something, that's probably the best one. It's probably better than the one I was feeding 6 months ago. It's not because I can't get it. It's because I like it better. Kevin, can you briefly outline, here we go, I'm sure it's going to be long, the best way to train a new puppy who's entering a family with a 2-year-old Rottie? The Rottie is well-trained due to the tools you provide. Well, in a nutshell, the puppy goes in a crate, and the interaction between the two is only structured, and they don't get any free time. That's the key, right? That's the simplest thing. Crate train the puppy, make sure the puppy's in a crate, make sure the Rottie is under control, that when the puppy comes out, the Rottie's in a down or, whatever. But you're going to need to socialize these dogs together at some point. Just don't give them a lot of free time early on until you know. Okay, Martin. Okay, you've asked me this question, like it's popped up 3 times. So I'm going to answer it one more time. 2.25 millimeter prong collars generally are adjustable. Snug is better than loose. Tight is no good, right? Tight means it's constricting the dog's air. You should be able to get a finger in, then it's snug. That's what I would basically say. And I'm sorry to be abrupt with you, but I've seen it pop up there like 3 or 4 times. So you must, if you post a question, you must stay tuned for the podcast, the entire Q&A cast, so that you get the answer. Because I don't answer it as you type it. I answer it as I see it, and they're all delayed, just so you know. How can I differentiate between my dog bonding with me in a healthy way versus possession behaviors towards me? Simple. If your dog's possessive toward you, he doesn't let other people near you, he starts to dominate you, he starts to stand over you, he starts to demand things of you, and you need to be sure that you're controlling your dog. If I tell my dog, go lie down, he's going to go lie down. He's not going to stand over me. If my wife comes to hug me, my dog doesn't stand between me. He knows he's get out of the way. A lot of these things, you need to really focus on with a dog to get the dog into a balanced relationship with you. But yeah, don't give your dog too much love and not enough structure. Paula, how can I teach my 2 German Shepherds, both 1 year old, to differentiate between two? Okay, I already answered that question too, Paula. Joyful dog surfaces car, whining due to excitement, not anxiety. Quiet with me and all techniques work as a trainer. Terrible with owners. How do I coach the owners? Ah, man, if I could answer that question for you, I would be a millionaire in coaching dog training. A dog will always behave better with a trainer because a trainer is more indifferent to the emotions of the dog and more in tune with the needs, right? The emotions of the dogs are, oh, I want to just make the dog happy. The needs of the dog is I need to give the dog structure. And that's what we as trainers do. So you need to encourage the owner to kind of have the same behaviors that you have. And that's the single hardest thing to do. And some dogs will whine. Maya will whine in the car. She's a whiner. More than likely, I mean, if these are German Shepherds, they're whiners. Because they're excited. They want to go somewhere. Like Maya whines to get in the car, and when she's in the car, she whines to get out of the car. If she had her way, she would just be going in and out of the car all day, going to the park, then out, then going into the car, and then coming home in and out, and then in the car, and then to the store, in and out. That's just who she is, and that's a super level of excitement. But I put a bar collar on the dog, only Maya, because she's the worst one in the car, and she's actually much better. She kind of has learned with age to kind of just calm down. Because in the beginning, I would just get upset, hey, quiet, quiet, quiet. And it didn't work. Craig says is 3.5 years old, 3.5 years too old for my German Shepherd to get the CH title. And will mild dog reactivity be a huge stumbling block for that sort of thing? Aside from his dog reactivity has been a perfect. Well, you need to curb the dog reactivity, but no, a dog can still get a CH title. I mean, Goofy got his championship at 9 or something, I think it was. He was quite old. He was one of the oldest. In fact, I had Tasha, his breeder, put it on him, and she said he was the oldest dog she'd ever put a CH on. So, no, 3.5 is still acceptable. Skeletor, thank you very much for that. I appreciate that. Okay, to clarify, I GoPro tape my car sessions for them, but they say they don't have the same luck. I think their energy is too excited and not clear enough what to do when the humans are the trigger. Yeah. I mean, that's brilliant, by the way, to tape your GoPro session. It's really a great idea. Anytime you can do that for a client and give them that information, you're just going to have to maybe go for rides with them, and show them, maybe put them in the passenger seat and show them that. It's very hard for people to change their behaviors. And if a dog doesn't fit into the behavior, it's sometimes a really bad fit, and they're just going to have to tolerate it. So what you end up with is dogs that are super excited and the owners are excited, and that excitement festers off each other. And then you just have, this problem over and over and over again. So I wish I had an answer for you. You're itching with your Mally, and I switch foods to Munster milling fish. Awesome results. Great. That will happen a lot. What to do while my 14-week-old Mal bites me? Well, you shouldn't really, if the dog is playing with you and you're engaging him in the play, it's one thing. I don't really love dogs biting on me, even young puppies, because it does tear your skin. I've got thin skin, and thin skin only as far as tears, like not thin skin as far as I can't take what people say bad about me. I would really just focus on putting the dog in a crate for a timeout or giving him something to chew on. I mean, you can't make it really aversive for the dog. Excuse me. John says, I have an 11-month-old clingy German Shepherd that does not want to stay. I followed your stay video, but will come once he loses sight of me. What's the best method to ensure my dog that I will come back? Well, what you're going to do is you're going to pop out. You're going to go out of sight and come right back into sight. You're going to pop out of sight, come back right into sight. You're going to pop out of sight, wait 2, 3, come back into sight. Make sure the dog knows that you're just about to come back into sight, and then build duration into that. And that's usually the way to do that. Gil says I have a 10-month-old German Shepherd. He likes to mouth on my friend's hands in what seems to be to instigate play or attention. Help with this. Also jumping on guest one first. Well, first of all, Gil, the issue is you're letting your dog initiate behaviors with people, and he shouldn't be doing that. He should be sitting either in a crate or in a place or by your side in a down. By allowing the dog the proximity to somebody like that, of course the dog's going to initiate play because he thinks he's in charge. He can do that. So don't allow that. That's really, really important. Scott, why does my male Mal lift his leg like he's peeing when he does number 2? A lot of males do that. Goofy does it too. Sometimes he'll poop right on a tree. So that's not uncommon. How to train a dog to ignore environmental stimulants and to focus on my commands. You're going to need to expose the dog socially. You need to socialize the dog and get them around those stimulus as much as possible early on and as much as possible without any interaction. And then, so we train, we create all our behaviors in a neutral environment. We socialize our dogs in distracting environments. And then we bring the two together. We start to train the dog in those environments, and that usually always works. Just so you guys know, it's got about 10 minutes left in this live because I'm going to my member live. So if you're a member, you get me for 2 hours. If you're YouTube, you just get me for the 1. Mag says, is there hope for a 1.5-year-old male Mal that failed as a protection dog, is unsocialized and fearful to become an obedient pet? Worked with a competent. Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's a lot of dogs that Mals or shepherds or whatever, they don't make it in protection. Protection is really hard on the dog, but to be a pet, I mean, it's not that much responsibility. So you can use different training. There's not going to be that kind of pressure on the dog. I think it'd probably make a wonderful pet. Charlie, any tips for strengthening relationship with a 5-month-old German Shepherd? Training. Because it's something you do together. There's nothing that will strengthen your relationship with your dog like training. Nothing. Okay, Karivloy. Teaching my Malinois to walk on his hind legs for extended periods of time. Do you know if it's safe to do as a training exercise? I don't know how old your dog is, but if the dog is over a year and a half or so, it should be fine. I don't really foresee it. I don't really foresee it as being dangerous. You're not putting a great amount of impact on the dog. So I would not think so. Okay, again, I'm only going to take people who have question marks. Okay, answer that one. Okay, if I've answered your question, I'm going to kind of go past because I'm running out of time and I want to make sure I get to everyone. I may answer a second question for you, but chances are I'm going to try to go through and see people who I don't recognize the name. Okay, Mason, you already had a question, but again, so here's a perfect example where you get a second question. Is it a problem to permanently have puppies crate in my room? To permanently have puppies crate in my room? I live with other people, and it might be a problem for her to sleep in the kitchen. My room is only quite. Yeah, I don't see that as a reason. Why would you have an issue with that? Vilas, greetings from London. Love your work. How would you train a young distracted spaniel with no recall? I'm assuming your video training the distracted boxer with a long line applies. Absolutely. 100%. Long line. You're going to be your best friend. Anthony, good to see you. Okay, you did Q instead of a question mark, but I kind of understood that and got it. Rudy, advice on grieving for an old grieving dog. Owner died suddenly. His good home, but he's really sad, man. You make me cry on that one. Just keep him busy, man. Treat him good, pet him, give him a lot of love. Let him see somebody else loves him. That's a heartbreak. And if you took in this dog, kudos to you, man. Kudos, really. Oh, man, that's a really nice one. John, I love your vids first. Well, thanks for checking in. That's really nice. Okay, good. All right, Paul. Okay, member. Well, if you're a member of my member site, you're going to get me for another hour after this, just so you know. An 8-month-old Dutch Shepherd is quite attracted to moving vehicles. Could be hurting in him. Yes. Would e-collar be the correct tool? Yes. I mean, before I did the e-collar, I would teach him, that you're going to, when something like that's around, something that extracting is around, because you're not dealing with aggression, you're dealing with prey drive. I would try to redirect that prey drive. And the way I would do that is I would have a tug with me. And when he sees that car, I would have obviously a leash on, but I would run away from him on leash, and I would go, hey, 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 and I would show him the tug, and I would start playing tug with him, and then move him away from it, and then out, and then sit, and then boom, reinstigate. So he's always going to look back to you when he gets excited. This is not the right thing to do with aggression, but it is the right thing to do with excitement. So, and then you can work to an e-collar to block that if it's too strong. But always first opt for giving the dog something to do as opposed to something not to do. That's always a better way. Moxie says, I adopted a dog. She is sweet but dog reactive. What are my first steps to helping her relax around other dogs? Gets in their face, gets still, then snaps. Well, your first step is to keep her at a distance from the dogs so that she can't be reactive to those dogs, right? And distance, we break that distance down slowly. So as the dog gets better, let's say at 20 feet, 15 feet, 10 feet, 8 feet, 6 feet, 4 feet, whatever. But this would be over a period of probably a month. I would take the time to do that. Okay, Martin, see here, I'm going to block you for that because you've asked the same question over and over again, and that's really not cool. So I've answered that question 2 different times. There is no topic for the questions, John. I just I give whatever questions you want, I answer. Okay, this is a new one here. Okay, how can I maintain a safe meeting for new people for my Australian cattle dog that is nervous around new people? Is a muzzle best option? I don't muzzle dogs. I don't like them. I don't like doing it at all. If your dog's nervous around people and then you muzzle them and something goes wrong and the dog gets more suspicious, it makes it worse. What I do is keep the dog at a distance from people. I don't let the people do any interaction with the dog. No touching, no talking to them, no looking at them, nothing. The dog is nervous because he thinks there's expectations on him. Take those expectations away, and generally he'll be fine unless he's aggressive, which is a different behavior. Okay, that's a nice post. Thank you so much for that, Seaboy for Life. Train your dog off my video. That's very, very nice to hear. Nin, how you are training a 13-year-old deaf and food-obsessed pug. Too focused on food, gets frenzied after training because of the food, doesn't pay attention to owner-only food. First of all, he's 13 years old and he's deaf. I mean, you just need to give this dog a really good life. You just need to give him, I don't think the pressure of trying to train this dog, he's food obsessed. I personally wouldn't do it. That's my thing. I mean, how long does this dog have to live? Seriously. I would give him a really, really nice life, and I wouldn't put the pressure of training on a 13-year-old dog that has these issues. Marie, very friendly with people at home, but when not home, it's a German Shepherd, barks at everybody. Does she just need more exposure? Oh, yes. Don't correct for behaviors. Expose the dog, give him something to do, and then you'll have a better dog. Okay. It's going to be one of my last questions here. John, 14-week-old half-mal mixed. The rescue org wants me to fix him around 9 to 12 months. What age would you recommend to do this? I know your stance already. Well, if the rescue org has a point. So I'm going to give you a little lecture on this. So a rescue organization goes into shelters. They see hundreds of dogs or maybe thousands of dogs that are there because people are irresponsible, stupid, backyard breeding, not neutering the dogs, not keeping the dogs in check. So they want to kind of curtail their work so they don't have this much work, right? Now, a lot of rescue orgs are under certain guidelines. For example, Los Angeles City requires all dogs that they adopt out at any age to be neutered or spayed. So, they're trying to reduce their workload. And, sadly enough, if you get a dog from a rescue, chances are it's a mutt. And chances are you shouldn't be breeding mutts. And there's nothing wrong with mutts. I think they're great dogs. But bringing more mutts into the world is not really what will benefit any breed of dog or the species in general. So I would probably do it when they recommend it to you. Look at this. There's my beautiful wife. Okay. Let's see if there's any more questions. I'll take one more question. I'm scrolling. Blue Sky. I'm only doing this Blue Sky because I'm learning the song Blue Sky by the Allman Brothers on the guitar, and I'm horrible at it. So I'm a Malinois owner. There are many auctions with 1-year-old Malinois become very popular. People can't deal with that breed and want to sell it. Is the same situation in the U.S.? Yeah, there's tons of Malinois. Because people are stupid. They see a movie, they see something on TV or the news, and they go, "Oh, I got to have that." You know, Janet and I've been watching F1, and I have no desire to have an F1 car, none, because I know I can't handle it, and I know it's not going to be useful for me. So, guys, I'm going to wrap this up here. Thank you so much for. Okay, hang on. I'm going to answer this question for you, Seaboy for life. Can I feed my GSD cooked oats mixed with peanut butter? I read it's okay. Yeah, you know, I'm not a big fan. That's a lot of carbs, but there's a lot of fiber also. If you're going to do butter, do almond butter as opposed to peanut butter. But yeah, you can. I've fed oats to my dogs for a long time. Never had a problem. So would not worry about that at all. Guys, a couple things I'm going to tell you. I'm going to end this chat here. But what I want to say to you is, one, thank you for being here very, very much. My website, robertcabral.com. If you're still here, and there's 192 of you, I would encourage you to visit my website, robertcabral.com, because that's where all my great training lives. So if you're here on YouTube and you see my videos, you're seeing an abridged version, a shortened version, because the YouTube attention span is pretty short, 3 to 5, 7 minutes. That's usually the longest videos you're going to see of mine here. Some are longer, but for the most part, that's what you're going to get. The reason I keep all the YouTube videos here and free is because I want to give back. I want to make sure people have access to good dog training information. And in turn for that, what I would ask of you, please subscribe to this channel, hit the notification bell so you'll be notified of all my lives and all my new videos coming up. We got a very, very, very exciting podcast coming up this week. 2, make sure on your way out that you give this video a thumbs up. In fact, if you leave now, give it a thumbs up. I know you have to leave. You have to go out of the chat to give it a thumbs up. I appreciate that. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your good questions. Thank you for training your dog. And thank you for letting me be a part of it. And also letting Janet and I be a part of your training, because we really enjoy it. Janet really gets a kick out of the questions. She's a big, big, big help. And we have an exciting weekend coming up. We have a friend of ours, Jeremy, coming into town. So I'll probably be doing some little live chats with him and stuff, and posting some videos on some hunting stuff. And it's not maybe what you guys are into with your shepherd and stuff, but you know, look at all different kinds of training, because there's always something to benefit from it. Thank you guys for being here. And if you're a member, I'm going to see you in the live chat in about 3 minutes. Thanks for being here, guys. I'll see you.